Pokemon. This series will always be close to me, no matter how old I get. All my love for Pokemon has led up to this, my longest countdown ever. My top 100 favorite Pokemon. Yes, this topic is very generic, but I decided to make it a little challenge. Now don't worry, I'm not going to pull an IGN on you and post the first 90 on a forum, and then make a shitty montage of the last 10 without commentary whatsoever. No, I'm going to thoroughly explain what I like about each Pokemon individually with my own voice. As my viewers, I only ask a few things from you. 1. These are my favorite, not the best. There's already a tier list for that shit. So don't you dare bring that up. 2. Please acknowledge that I am delving into all Pokemon media to explain why I like the following 100 entries, especially the anime and their movies. So there might be slight spoilers for various Pokemon movies on this list. You have been warned. And that's about all. We've got a long countdown ahead of us. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the list. Let's rock. Starting up this long countdown is Murkrow. Debuting in Generation 2, I can honestly say that Murkrow is one of my favorite bird Pokemon. You're probably wondering why I chose him over Honchkrow, his evolution. Well, for one thing, Murkrow has much higher speed stat, and when a faster Pokemon has Super Luck, that ultimately leads to a lot of damage, as long as those Pokemon EVs are set to attack. Every time I replay Gold, Silver, or Crystal, I always wait for a Murkrow before I establish my team. He was always my high flyer. Also, I just love the way Murkrow looks. His tail feathers kind of remind me of Gruntillo's broomstick, and his hat-like crest just screams, I killed someone for this hat. You gonna try and take it? Paul is an idiot for evolving as Murkrow. Seriously. He may not eat carrion, but this is one crow I always have affection for. Whenever someone around me brings up legendary Pokemon, they usually don't bring up Jirachi. I find that sad, to be honest, as I find Jirachi to be a great legendary. Jirachi is a very unique Pokemon, having the power to grant an infinite amount of wishes, except in the manga, that is. To this day, Jirachi is the lightest Steel-type Pokemon there is, weighing little more than 2.5 pounds. While its typing is the most unique, it does have very well-balanced stats. The reason I love Jirachi is mainly because of the movie he started, known as Jirachi Wishmaker. I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't seen it yet, but throughout the movie, Jirachi was a cute and enjoyable character, which led him to be number 99 on this top 100. I would probably like Jirachi more if Game Freak actually made him catchable in a Pokemon RPG. Hell, they haven't even included Jirachi in a Pokemon Ranger game yet. That is sad. I wanted to place you higher, little buddy, but I just haven't had enough experience with you to place you any higher. The very first Pokemon to have ever come into existence has to be on this list somewhere. He just has to. Bulbasaur is simply a classic Pokemon. Being an infant reptile with a bowl planet on its back, Bulbasaur is a grass type capable of using solar energy to replenish its health and generate solar beams. It's easy to see why Bulbasaur is so loved by many. His concept is pretty damn original if you ask me. In the anime, Ash's Bulbasaur was always entertaining to watch, as he always wanted to help others even if it meant risking his life. Sure, its evolutions are much stronger than it, but that doesn't necessarily make them better now, does it? Not by my standards. Bulbasaur is cute, heroic, and very original. Why is he so low? Bulbasaur might be great, but I just love later Pokemon. Simple as that. Even still, everyone should love this little guy. He's great. What's not to love about Spheal? Seriously. Remember, a Pokemon doesn't have to have great stats to be on this list. I just have to like it. And I love Spheal. Why? Because it's my list. Make your own top 100. No, but the real reason I put Spheal on here is because it's just so damn cute. I mean, just think about it. It's a baby seal in the shape of a ball, and it even claps. Seriously, just watch this clip and try not to go, aww.
Spheal! Wow, it's a Spheal! Spheal, Spheal! Hi! Spheal, Spheal, Spheal! Spheal! Spheal, Spheal, Spheal!
You see? Now you might be wondering, Logan, why are you going all cutesy on our asses? Well, here's my rebuttal.
Why you hating, bitch?
You may not like this Pokemon, but as far as I see it, you're going to have to Spheal with it. Bronzong is a strange case among psychic types. First off, it's a highly defensive Pokemon. That's something you don't see very often in psychic type. Also, Bronzong and its pre-evolution Bronzor are the only Pokemon in existence that have the ability Heatproof, which cuts the damage of fire attacks by 50%, which is really helpful considering that it's also part steel. In addition to its unique design, Bronzong's Pokedex entry really intrigues me. The Pokedex entry from Platinum says, "It brought rains by opening portals to another world. It was revered as the bringer of plentiful harvest." The next entry from Diamond says, "One Bronzong caused a new sensation when it was dug up at a construction site after a 2,000-year sleep." Interesting. According to what I've read, it appears that Bronzong was based off of Dotaku, Japanese bells used to pray for good harvests. These bells were often decorated with patterns representing nature and were buried in isolated locations, occasionally with bronze mirrors and weapons with them. See, it's references like that which leads me to like this Pokemon. Also, in battle, Bronzong's no schmuck. His high defense and that heat-proof ability will ensure he'll be fighting for a while. For those of you who replay the Sinnoh versions frequently, I highly recommend Bronzong as a team member. Sure, he may not be the best psychic type, but he's definitely one to count on. Based upon the concept of a living Pokeball, Electrode is often considered a very gimmicky Pokemon, and it's easy to see why. It may not look like it, but Electrode is one of the fastest Pokemon in existence, with its speed reaching a maximum of 416. Jeez, you can kill someone with that kind of speed. Speaking of danger, the more electric energy Electrode absorbs, the faster it moves. If angered, it might randomly explode. Damn, dangerous and unpredictable. Perfect for those pyrokinetic nuts. In battle, Electrode can prove to be quite useful, if you know what you're doing. His insane speed almost guarantees that he will make the first move. And if you had him learn Double Team and Electro Ball, combined with this static ability, he could end up being a real pain in your opponent's ass. Also, I just love the expression on his face. He basically screams, "You mad, bro?" Look at that. That should be up on Google Images. Yeah. Overall, Electrode is a great electric type. With his quirky design, ridiculously high speed, and that joy-inducing smile of his, putting him at the number 95 spot on this list. Xatu is a very, very strange Pokemon, even for a psychic type. As you can tell, Xatu has the locomotion of a substitute dummy. It barely moves at all. According to various Pokedex entries, Xatu stands rooted in one spot all day because it daily views both the past and future at the same time. And each time period is viewed through a different eye. Well, I don't know about you, but I find that crazy. If you don't count its pre-evolution Natu, Xatu was the very first psychic flying type. Back then, it was a unique typing, and even now it's not done to death. Keep it like that, Game Freak. To this day, Xatu is the only Pokemon whose name begins with the letter X. Isn't that just weird? In battle, Xatu is overall pretty good. His stats are mostly well-balanced, but he does get an edge in both special attack and speed, which is a plus. I just find Xatu very interesting, and that's all the reason I need to have him with me.
Someone come call me out! Oh, fine! Ah!
I love Houndour. I'm not exactly sure why, but I just do. I try to explain it as best as I can. Not only does Houndour remind me of my old dog due to its appearance and color, but it also has a unique typing, a dual fire and dark Pokemon, which has only been done twice in the entire franchise. It's been suggested that Houndour may have been based off Cerberus of Greek and Roman mythology, or perhaps other legends from Hellbounds. Well, I'd say he's too cute to be a canine residing from the bowels of hell, but that theory is still quite interesting. While Houndour isn't nearly as useful in battle as Houndoom is, that doesn't affect his chances of staying on here one bit. Also, I loved the Houndour from the Pikachu and Pichu short. Houndour was just minding his own business, and then all of a sudden... You shouldn't have done that, Pikachu. Along the way, Houndour tries to get them while they're running across the clothesline, and he ends up getting bedsheets flung in his face. That's pretty funny. Lastly, I have to mention this a little bit. As the chase continues, Pikachu bounces on a sleeping Snorlax's stomach and ends up just fine. So then, Houndour gives it a try and hopes for the same outcome. While its typing isn't unique at all, Fawfuls gets my vote for the best non-legendary water type in 4th generation. Why? Well, for a start, Fawfuls has very high speed, the maximum being 361. For a Pokemon that you can encounter simply by surfing, that's pretty damn good. Fawfuls has reasonably high attack too, making him a strong contender for those of you who like to sweep your opponents, like me. Trust me, Fawfuls has saved my ass in Platinum on numerous occasions. Also, I love the way Fawfuls looks. First off, his two tails remind me of Tails from the Sonic series, and no, that's not a bad thing. Second, Fawfuls' design is obviously based off of a sea otter, which is a plus because I love those little guys. And finally, that look he gives you basically says, "You're next, shithead." Here we come across the first 5th generation Pokemon on the list, Crustle. On my first playthrough of Light, Crustle was part of my main team. At first glance, it's quite obvious that Crustle is based off of a hermit crab's design. While most hermit crabs have itty-bitty little shells on their backs, get this, Crustle carries a chunk of Earth's crust on top of his back. Wow, that's one hell of a mobile home. If you can't tell from the giant clump of earth on its back, Crustle is a very strong Pokemon. He has very high physical defense, as well as exceptionally high physical attack. Sure, it might have extremely low speed, but you can always teach it Rock Polish to make up for its lack of speed. Another thing to note is that Crustle is eventually able to learn the move Rock Wrecker, one of the most powerful rock-type moves ever. His typing is nothing to snuff at either. I would still call half bug, half rock a unique typing, even though it's been done 3 times before. Game Freak, please keep this type combination unique. If I see a bug completely covered in dirt next generation, I'm gonna let out a really big sigh. Oh yeah, I forgot.
It's Sleep Outfitters Black Friday sale with incredible deals all month long. Save up to $800 on adjustable mattress sets from Stearns & Foster, Tempur-Pedic, and Sealy. Plus up to $300 in free gifts. Sleep Outfitters, the way mattress shopping should be.
Midvis, let's skip the intro this time. Everyone just wants to see part 2 already. Starting off part 2, we have the bouquet Pokemon, Roserade. Now, I've heard a lot about Roserade concerning the fact that it's sometimes labeled as a girly Pokemon. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I love Roserade.
It's so gay, it's really...
Shut up! I mean, what's not to like about it? It's a giant rose-like humanoid wearing what looks like a masquerade facial mask. She's even complete with a cape. The Pokedex refers to Roserade having the appearance and style of a dancer, but I'd say she looks more like a superhero. Well, anyway, on to the battle aspects. Roserade is tied with Exeggutor for having the highest special attack of all grass types, the maximum being 383. Roserade's ability is not that great, but Poison Point can be helpful at times. Another thing to note is that Roserade is the only grass type that can lure Weather Ball by leveling up, which is definitely a plus because I love experimenting with Weather Ball. Overall, Roserade is one of my favorite Sinnoh grass types, as well as my favorite grass poison type. It's nice to look at, its stats are reliable, and it's a much better Sinnoh grass type than that fucking cherry. Next up, we have the first and only dragon type introduced in Generation 2, Kingdra. Up until Gen 4, Kingdra had quite possibly the most unique typing out of any Pokemon yet. Being a dual dragon water type, Kingdra has been a fan favorite of Johto players ever since its debut. If you ever come across the rare dragon scale, keep it, as you'll want Kingdra added to your list of water types. When it comes to the origin of Kingdra, I can only think of two things. The leafy sea dragon, which is a well-disguised yet common fish we can see anytime today. The other one being the Hydra of Greek mythology. Okay, I'm just daydreaming. It's obviously the leafy sea dragon. Much like Roserade, Kingdra is absolutely gorgeous to look at. I don't know why, but I always love the way sea creatures look. Anyways, on to the battle statistics. Kingdra is a very well-balanced Pokemon, which is very strange for a dragon type, considering most of them have extremes at just about one stat. With its balanced stats, there is very little to complain about involving its battling skills. It's just a do-it-your-own-way method. There's not much else that can be said about Kingdra. It's a unique, reliable, and beautiful water type. Meet Breloom, a stoner's best friend. No, seriously, this Pokemon is literally a giant mushroom with legs. To me, Breloom is exactly what someone of the Mile High Club would see when they go to work. I mean, just take a look at Breloom. He looks like a kangaroo that smoked one too many blunts. With all drug jokes set aside, Breloom is a very good Pokemon. Attack-wise, he's a fucking beast. His attack can get as high as 394, making him the strongest physical grass type ever. Up until Generation 5, Breloom was the only dual grass fighting type. Breloom also has some kick-ass abilities. The first one being Effect Spore, which can spread multiple status ailments to those who come into physical contact with it. The second one being Poison Heal. Poison Heal is an ability that allows the Pokemon to regain its health as it's poisoned. If you have a choice between the two, I'd pick Poison Heal. If you have that Breloom, pull a Toxic Orb, and then teach it Facade, your opponent is fucked. Bottom line, Breloom is one of the best grass types you can have, as well as the best in all of Hoenn. At number 87, we have arguably the funniest Pokemon ever, Munchlax. Seriously, even saying his name is a joy, Munchlax. Before I get into the humorous aspects, let's talk about his stats. Most notably, Munchlax has a base speed stat of 5, making him the absolute slowest Pokemon ever. I'll be honest here, for battling, you're far better off using Snorlax. Now, onto the humor. First off, unlike all the other powerful Pokemon, Munchlax actually helps the environment rather than just destroy it. You ask what I'm referring to? I'll tell you. Munchlax fucking recycles. Yeah, I shit you not. The little feed bag actually recycles plastic bottles. Well, tries to at least. While Munchlax gives Kirby competition when it comes to eating, his jumping ability would make even Luigi proud. Did I just see that correctly? Munchlax is too lazy to give recycling a second try, but jumping 50 fucking feet in the air with no problem and landing with such ease is nothing too much. Wow. I just have one thing to say. Here we have the first Generation 4 bug type on the list, Vespiquen. Being the proud mother of Buck Bumble, Vespiquen is on the list for a few notable reasons. First off, Vespiquen is one of the very few examples of how a bug flying type should be done, not shitty. Unlike most dual bug flying types, Vespiquen actually has decent stats. Sure, she's mostly a defensive ally, but that's beside the point. Second, she's designed from a queen bee, one of the most regal of all animals. And lastly, let's not forget about all the signature moves of Vespiquen. There's Attack Order, which deals moderately high damage and has an increased critical hit ratio. There's Heal Order, which recovers half of Vespiquen's maximum HP. And finally, there's Defend Order, which increases Vespiquen's defense stat and special defense stat by 1 stage each. Also, this might be a pointless thing to note, but Vespiquen is the only bug Pokemon that has the ability Pressure. Like I said, it's pointless to name off, but it's great to know. Final verdict, Vespiquen is a very underrated bug Pokemon. I mean, come on, she's not that bad.
Hard launch, I guess, but I'm not single. A while ago, I was struggling to make connections, and I actually downloaded Hinge, and I met my... So I'm going to reinstall Hinge and show you guys my profile and why he was so drawn to me. So first of all, I got to put all the pictures of my dogs, which I think will be a lot of points there. I also got to get my personality across really well using the voice prompts. They're prompts like this, which really allowed me to get my truth across and really communicate my heart. But what really did it was this prompt about girls drinking banh mi because I was in conversation started. He was like, I don't know what a banh mi was. And I was like, okay, perfect, first date. So we get to the banh mi shop. He doesn't really care for the banh mi's, but he loves the boba. It was his first time having boba. And now his favorite thing is like a taro milk tea. I hit the banh mi shop every Sunday. I met my guy. I got to uninstall the app, and the rest is history. I did say hard launch, but y'all don't get all that, okay?
Was this another girly Pokemon? That's lame, dude. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you put something as silly as that on here? 2 words. My list. Anyway, back to Frostlass. How could I not put her on here? I'll list a few reasons why I like this Pokemon. 1. Frostlass has an incredibly unique typing, being the only dual Ghost Ice type so far. 2. She is the fastest Ghost type there is. 3. I love the way she looks. And 4. She's linked to Japanese folklore by being based off the Yakuni Onna, the female ice spirit. To me, that's far more original than a massive floating head covered in ice. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Laylee too, but to me, Frostlass is the better Pokemon. I find her stats much more favorable than Glaylai's, even though there is very little difference. I love the folklore reference she has, and I just prefer Frostlass. Why you hate me? Absol is a badass among all of the Hoenn Pokemon. Seriously, this Pokemon is dope. Being the only Dark-type Pokemon in the white color group, Absol is a must-have for any hard-hitting specialist. Not only does Absol look awesome, but his move pool is gargantuan. Absol learns the most moves out of all the non-legendary Pokemon, the total being 78. That's insane! Much like Breloom, Absol has a very high attack stat. In fact, their attack totals are exactly the same. If you can, you really should get an Absol with the ability Super Luck. Like I mentioned earlier, most of Absol's strongest attacks have high chances of critical hits, and with Super Luck, the chances of landing a critical hit are quadruple. And much like any other great Pokemon, Absol is linked to a foreign myth. Absol is most likely based on the Baizi of Chinese mythology. The Baizi is generally described as a white beast that can take the form of a large mountain lion, distinguished by having one or two horns on its head. Seems pretty familiar, doesn't it? Absol is a badass and very reliable partner. Plain and simple. You should get one. Hailing from Johto, we have the famed volcano Pokemon, Typhlosion. Sorry, Typhlosion fans, but he's not any higher. But because I chose Typhlosion almost every time I replay Gold and Silver, I just had to put him on here somewhere. What's so cool about Typhlosion, you ask? Well, let's just start with his name, Typhlosion. Seriously, one of the coolest names any Pokemon can have. Second, Typhlosion is so far the only final form of a Fire-type starter that does not have a secondary type. Which may not be the best thing in the world, but at least Typhlosion can survive 2 fucking hits from Stealth Rock. I'm looking at you, all-powerful Charizard. Next, Typhlosion's move pool is very impressive, being able to learn moves from Steel and even Electric types. But the main reason why I put Typhlosion on here is because of his awesome name and the fact that Cyndaquil was the very first Pokemon I had. I didn't grow up with Charizard, I grew up with Typhlosion. While Typhlosion isn't my all-time favorite starter, or even my favorite fire starter, he still needed to be on here because of how much he and I have been through. Thanks for all the great memories, my friend. Next we have Nidoking. Ever since Fire Red and Leaf Green, I've always liked Nidoking. I don't know why, really. I definitely prefer Nidoking over Nidoqueen, but that's not the point. Let's name some of the things I like about him. First, he's purple. And as you see in my Metroid Fusion LP, you would know that. 2. Aside from Nidoqueen, he's the only poison ground type, which, believe it or not, I think we don't have enough of. 3. His stats are more my style, being better used for sweepers. After all, Nidoqueen is more defensive than he is. 4. His move pool is very, very big. While both Nidoking and Queen have just about the same move pool, it makes more sense on Nidoking's part, as he is more offensive than she is. And 5, I just do. I just love Nidoking. It's not like I'm trying to be sexist or anything. I mean, Vespiquen and Frostlass were on here, and those are both female Pokemon. And I better move on before this gets awkward. Next! Looking like a hypnotist pet frog, Poliwrath has always caught my interest. Officially, Poliwrath is the only Pokemon with the typing Water and Fighting. Well, Keldeo is supposed to be the same type as this, but it hasn't been released yet, so I'll give the kudos to Poliwrath. Now, is it just me, or does Poliwrath look like something straight out of Mega Man? To me, it looks like Wily could make a robot master named Spiral Man, and it would look very similar, but that's just me. Also, there's something about Poliwrath's Pokédex entries that I really like. Let's take a look at some of them, shall we? The next entry from Crystal states, it can use its well-developed arms and legs to run on the surface of the water for a split second. Well, that's cool enough, but let's take a look at one more, shall we? Emerald's next entry says, its highly developed muscles never grow fatigued, however much it exercises. This Pokemon can swim back and forth across the Pacific Ocean without effort. Well, we finally know what Michael Phelps' favorite Pokemon is.
Shut your bitch ass!
I put in my car again.
Looking for fresher, softer, and better laundry?
Midbiss, I said no intro. Don't make me get the Dark Star out. To kick off part 3, we have probably the most elegant of all Pokemon, as well as one of my favorite Poland water types, Milotic. Now, what can I say about Milotic? Well, let's start with her appearance. Seriously, just look at Milotic. She looks like a superior that took way too many beauty pills. Now, please acknowledge that even though I find Milotic beautiful, I am not one of those Milotic enthusiasts. The origin of Milotic is a tough one to describe. Some fans believe Milotic was based off the mythical sirens that attracted sailors with their haunting songs. Yeah, I doubt that. Milotic is most likely based on the extremely long, yet rarely encountered Warfish, which is very easy to see as their resemblance is staggering. In battle, Milotic is very useful. While her move pool is very unimpressive, her special defense gives even Blissey a good competition. I'm sure we all remember how much help Wallace's Milotic gave us in Emerald. That there is a testament to her high special defense. Her special attack is also very impressive, reaching a maximum of 328. Not bad if you ask me. I also have to give mention to her ability, Marvel Scale. Marvel Scale raises the defense stat by 50% if the Pokemon is suffering from a status ailment. Wow, all I have to say is, Milotic's awesome. Rhyperior is a fucking tank. Seriously, he's one of the strongest physical fighters in Pokemon history. Rhyperior has the highest attack among all non-legendary ground type Pokemon, the total being 416. That is crazy. Rhyperior also has the highest HP among all rock type and ground type Pokemon. Not that HP is massively important, but whatever. Rhyperior's move pool is also huge. One of my favorite things about Rhyperior is what he does on a regular basis. According to the Pokedex, Rhyperior shoots Geodudes from holes in its palms like missiles. Holy shit! Man, fuck the Hadouken! I'd rather use a Geodude! Wow, I really failed on that one. In a nutshell, the only true thing you can call Rhyperior is a beast. He's just a goddamn beast. And I love him for that. Time to do a barrel roll because up next is Hitmontop. If you're the kind of person that does not enjoy things spinning around in circles, you will obviously not like Hitmontop. I've always thought that Hitmontop just had a unique charm applied to him. Hitmontop spends his entire life upside down, balanced on the conspicuous point on top of his head. Like any Star Fox fan, every time I see Hitmontop at work, I always want to do a barrel roll. Well, that's enough of the barrel roll. Let's talk about his stats. Out of the other Hitmon fighters, if that's what you want to call him, Hitmontop is the slowest and the most defensive. But keep in mind that he also has exceptionally high physical attack. So, he's pretty reliable. Also, let's not forget about his signature move. Hitmontop is the only known Pokemon that learns Triple Kick. Sure, it's not too strong, but it's still pretty cool. You just gotta love the way he spins around and around and... Oh, I can't help it. Hit it, Peppy! Barrel roll! 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 understand why everyone likes Skarmory. When it comes right down to it, Skarmory is one tough bird. Being the placeholder for highest defense out of all flying types, Skarmory is one I highly recommend. So this begs the question, why is Skarmory so awesome? I'll tell you. He's a bird made of steel. Peter, enough of the crap and go play some Call of Duty.
Is this a crap what?
We're talking grenade! Idiot! Play! Moron! You're set! Anyway, back to Skarmory. Being made of steel, Skarmory's defense is ridiculously high. Maximum being 416. That is insane. Here's something I don't have footage for, but it's very interesting. Skarmory has kidnapped more Pokemon and people in the anime than any other Pokemon. It's kidnapped Jessie's Wobbuffet, May, and Azumarill, Meowth, and in the Mystery Dungeon special, it also kidnapped Diglett, Pichu, and Pikachu. Wow, a persistent kidnapper of a Pokemon. Bowser would love Skarmory. And, honestly, I wouldn't blame him. It's been a while since a Unova Pokemon appeared on this list, so let's give some love to the mineral compressed super tanker Gigalith. Now, just take a moment and say his name, Gigalith. That's one of the best Pokemon names I've heard since Typhlosion back in Gen 2. That's saying something right there. Being the only pure rock type to have a third evolution, Gigalith is definitely one of the best Gen 5 has to offer. As I mentioned earlier, Gigalith is a super tanker. His attack stat puts even Tyranitar to shame, and his defense trumps even the previously mentioned Crustle. But the most interesting thing about Gigalith, black. It says, compressing the energy from its internal core lets it fire off an attack capable of blowing away a mountain. Sweet Lord, I would love to see that. As soon as your Roggenrola evolves into Boldor, I highly recommend evolving it immediately. Seriously, this Pokemon is one of the best rock types we've seen in a long time. Do any of you like army turrets? Do any of you like octopi? Then you'll love Octillery. Octillery is a living turret. Seriously, look at him. Just look at him. Octillery looks like the kind of thing that would defend Atlantis if there were anyone that would dare invade it. Out of every Pokemon ever, Octillery has my favorite move pool by far. With its turret-like head, Octillery is able to learn pretty much any move that ends with beam, as well as pretty much any projectile-like move. Let me name off some of his moves. Gunk Shot, Rock Blast, Psybeam, Aurora Beam, Bubble Beam, Signal Beam, Ice Beam, Hyper Beam, Energy Ball, Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, Psychic, Charge Beam, Incinerate, and Flash Cannon. Damn, that's one awesome moveset. Also, Octillery is the only Pokemon that is able to learn Octazooka by leveling up. Interesting. One last thing. Doesn't Octillery look familiar? Doesn't he look like an enemy from another Nintendo franchise? What could it be? Octorok! Zelda reference for the win. Steamrolling its way to number 74 is the colossal and utterly awesome Scolipede. Weighing in at 442 pounds and standing 8 feet tall, Scolipede is the largest and heaviest bug Pokemon in existence. To me, Scolipede is the very best bug poison type you could possibly have. Because most bug poison types are average, so you don't really expect any strong ones. Scolipede in particular has a base stat total of 475, which may not sound too impressive, but it is if you consider what typing it is. Scolipede is pretty damn fast considering how big it is. His speed stat is the most impressive, reaching a maximum of 355. That rivals even Floatzel. Like all poison types, Scolipede can be very deadly on the battlefield. If you use Toxic to poison your opponent, you You can then use Venoshock to deal twice the damage. Now, you can do this with a lot of Pokemon, thanks to the TM, but I feel it's better when the user is faster. Overall, if you have never really cared about bug poison types, you should reconsider that and give Scolipede a try. Unless you're stupid, he will not disappoint you at all. Another Gen 5 Pokemon? Come on, man, they suck! Well, get used to it, because Gen 5 is home to a lot of my favorites. Anyway, back to Maractus. Maractus is my second favorite Gen 5 grass type. Screw that little smugly faster. Maractus was, and still is, part of my Gen 5 team. I love the way this thing looks. Her sprite animation makes it look like she's always waving high the whole time. Aw, how cute is that? Maractus looks like the love child of Cacturn and Peppy Hair. Awesome, isn't it? If you want a Pokemon that will annoy the living fuck out of your opponent, Maractus is one of the best for that. You want to know what I'm talking about? I'll let you know how to make the perfect Maractus. First, you want your Maractus to have a bold nature. I repeat, bold nature. Have its ability be Storm Drain, that's its secret ability, which draws in all water-type moves that will raise your special attack every time. Next, have it hold a Person Berry. Lastly, here's the moveset I recommend. Acupressure, Cotton Guard, Synthesis, and Petal Dance. For the first 2 turns, use Cotton Guard, which raises your defense stat by 3 levels every time. Then, spam Acupressure until every one of your stats is maxed out. And make sure to use Synthesis whenever you need to heal. Then, use Petal Dance. All that equals, you're fucking dead. Dusknoir is one twisted motherfucker. What, you don't believe me? Let me tell you what his special ability is. Dusknoir possesses the ability to receive radio waves from the spirit world and can also hold lost spirits in the mouth-like hole in its abdomen. You know, for kids! And they say Pokemon is for little kids. Not even enemies from Silent Hill do that. Dusknoir's Pokedex entry from Black and White claims that he just guides these spirits home. Yeah, right. I'm gonna call it right now. Shit! I mean, there's a reason why he's called the Gripper of Pokemon. With all seriousness, Dusknoir is an awesome ghost type. Dusknoir has the highest base stat total of all the non-legendary ghost Pokemon, the total being 525. Dusknoir is also the placeholder for having the highest special defense of all ghost type Pokemon. I also like his move pool, mainly because he's the only Pokemon that can learn all 4 of the elemental punches, which are some kick-ass moves. Also, there's a funny thing about Dusknoir that I should mention. Take a look at the pattern on his chest. Now look at the pattern on his back. Oh, Game Freak, you clever